Jake Morrison wiped sweat from his forehead as he finished his morning run around the academy track. The artificial gravity made everything feel normal, but he knew the other students thought he was crazy for running so much. Around him, alien cadets moved carefully through their own exercises, many wearing special suits or breathing different gases. The Zephyrian Military Academy floated in space like a giant metal flower. It was the best military school in the galaxy, where only the strongest and smartest students came to learn. Jake felt lucky to be here, even if everyone else seemed scared of him. "There goes the human again," whispered Clicks, a Kalani student whose bug-like eyes followed Jake's movement. "How does he move so fast without protection gear?" Her friend Zara, a tall Vorthak made of living crystal, flashed worried colors across her body. "I heard humans come from a death planet. Everything there tries to kill them." Jake heard the whispers but did not mind. He had gotten used to it over the past 3 months. When he first arrived, the other students would not even sit near him in the cafeteria. They thought he might explode or leak poison or something. The academy hallways were wide and bright, designed for many different types of beings. Some students floated in special tanks filled with gas. Others walked on multiple legs or slithered across the floor. Jake just walked normally, which somehow made him stand out even more. In his first class of the day, Galactic History, Professor Methane Cloud floated above the students in his containment suit. The Nefri teacher spoke through a voice box that made his words sound hollow and distant. "Today we study the Great Peace Treaty of Sector 7, Professor Methane Cloud announced. This treaty ended the worst war in galactic history. Billions died before the fighting stopped. Jake raised his hand. "What started the war, Professor?" The alien students turned to look at him. They always seemed surprised when he spoke. "Territorial dispute over water rights," the professor replied. "The Zolthar Empire and the Crystal Alliance both claimed the same water-rich planets. The fighting lasted 300 years. 300 years over water?" Jake asked. "Could they not just share it or find more?" The classroom fell silent. Several students made shocked noises. A few actually backed away from Jake. "Share water?" squeaked Pip, a small furry creature from the fourth moon of Altair. "Water is liquid death. It burns through metal and destroys everything it touches." Jake blinked. "No, it does not. We drink water every day on Earth. I had some with breakfast." The entire class gasped. Professor Methane Cloud's containment suit started beeping with alarm signals. "You consume the burning liquid willingly?" the professor asked, his voice shaking. "Sure," Jake said with a shrug. "We need it to live. We swim in it for fun, too." 3 students fainted. Click started making rapid clicking sounds that Jake had learned meant extreme distress. Zara turned completely white, which was apparently very bad for a Vorthak. "Class dismissed," Professor Methane Cloud announced quickly. "Medical teams to room 7 immediately." Jake gathered his books, confused about what he had said wrong. This happened a lot. He would mention something normal from Earth and everyone would panic. At lunch, Jake sat alone as usual. His meal tray held food that the kitchen staff specially prepared for him. Other students were too scared to eat in the same room when he ate Earth food. Last week he had asked for hot sauce and they evacuated the entire cafeteria. Amy Foster, another human student, sat down across from him. She was training to be a medic and always seemed calm about everything. "Rough morning?" she asked, opening her own lunch. "I think I scared everyone again," Jake said. "I just mentioned drinking water." Amy laughed. "Yesterday in medical class I told them about aspirin. 3 instructors had to lie down. Pete Collins joined them, carrying his engineering books. "What did you 2 do now?" "Jake mentioned water," Amy said. "Oh no," Pete grinned. "Remember when Steve told them about swimming pools? They thought he was describing some kind of torture chamber." Steve Warner appeared at their table, still wearing his pilot training suit. "Are we talking about the swimming pool incident again?" I still get strange looks from the flight instructors. The 4 humans ate their lunch while other students watched from far away. Jake noticed the aliens whispering and pointing, but he had stopped caring. His grandmother used to say that people always talked about things they did not understand. After lunch, Jake went to combat training. This was his favorite class because he finally got to do something physical. The instructor, Sergeant Razormaw, was a tough draconian with scales and sharp teeth. "Today we practice survival scenarios," Sergeant Razormaw announced. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. "You will face simulated predators from various death worlds." The other students looked nervous. Combat training was always dangerous, even with safety systems. The first scenario put them in a jungle with large cat-like predators. The alien students worked together, using shields and energy weapons to stay safe. They moved slowly and carefully, scanning for threats. Jake walked through the jungle like he was taking a stroll in the park. When a simulated predator jumped at him, he stepped aside and grabbed it by the neck. The holographic creature disappeared when he applied pressure to the right spot. "How did you know to do that?" asked Fenris, a wolf-like Lupian student. "My Uncle Rick taught me about big cats when I was 12, Jake said. "They all have the same weak spots." Sergeant Razor Maw watched with interest. "And where did this uncle learn such knowledge?" "He worked at a zoo," Jake said. "On weekends, we would go camping in places with bears and mountain lions. You know, for fun." The sergeant's eyes went wide. Several students made scared noises. The next scenario was a desert with venomous snake creatures. Again, the other students used high-tech equipment and careful tactics. Jake just walked around, occasionally moving snakes aside with a stick he found. "Are those not dangerous?" asked Zara, her crystal body flashing nervous colors. "Sure, but you just watch where you step," Jake said. "My cousin Danny got bit by a rattlesnake once. He just walked to the hospital and got a shot. Made a good story later." By the end of class, Sergeant Razor Maw was making notes on his tablet and shaking his head. The other students looked at Jake like he was some kind of monster or superhero. He could not tell which. Walking back to his dorm room, Jake passed groups of alien students who stopped talking when they saw him. He heard words like impossible and Deathworld survivor and probably dangerous. Jake just smiled and waved. Tomorrow would be another day at the academy, and he was actually starting to enjoy how interesting everyone found his normal life. If they thought drinking water was amazing, wait until they learned about roller coasters. The alarm started at 03:47 hours ship time. Red lights flashed through every corridor as the piercing sound echoed off the metal walls. Jake woke up immediately, his military training kicking in before his mind was fully awake. His roommate, a Kalani named Buzz, was already pressed against the far wall of their shared room. The insect-like alien's many eyes darted around in panic while his breathing created a sharp clicking sound. "Emergency protocols activated," the computer voice announced. "All students and staff report to designated safe zones immediately." "This is not a drill." Jake sat up and reached for his uniform. "What do you think it is?" "Engine trouble?" Buzz made a horrified chittering noise. "Did you not hear the announcement code? Level 9 threat. That means..." He paused, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The Shadowclaw is here." "Shadow what now?" Jake asked, pulling on his boots. "The Shadowclaw," Buzz repeated, his voice rising to a squeak. "The most dangerous assassin in the galaxy. It has killed kings and destroyed whole families. It can walk through walls and turn invisible." Jake finished getting dressed and checked his appearance in the mirror. "Sounds like a problem for security." Out in the hallway, chaos ruled. Students ran in all directions, some carrying emergency bags they were supposed to keep ready. Others had already sealed themselves inside their rooms and refused to come out. Clix rushed past Jake, her 6 legs moving so fast they looked like a blur. Behind her, 3 Vorthax students moved together in a tight group, their crystal bodies flashing rapid patterns of red and orange that Jake had learned meant extreme danger. Near the main corridor intersection, Professor Methane Cloud floated in his containment suit while trying to count students. His usual calm was gone, replaced by frantic movements as he checked his list again and again. "All Nefri students to Safe Room 7, he called out. "Kalani students to Safe Room 3. Humans to..." He paused, consulting his tablet. "Where are humans supposed to go during a Level 9 alert?" "We can go wherever you need us," Jake said, walking up to the professor. No, Professor Methane Cloud said quickly. "You must go somewhere safe. The Shadowclaw kills without mercy. It has eliminated the royal family of 3 different planets." Jake nodded politely. "I will head to the mess hall then. I missed dinner earlier." The professor's containment suit started beeping alarms again. "The mess hall is not a safe room." "I know," Jake said. "But I'm hungry and the cafeteria has good sandwiches." Before Professor Methane Cloud could respond, Jake walked away. Behind him, he heard the professor calling for medical assistance for himself. The mess hall was empty except for the automated food dispensers. Jake made himself a sandwich with ingredients that would probably send most of the alien students to the hospital. Hot peppers, spicy mustard, and cheese that was aged the way his grandfather liked it. He had just taken his first bite when Amy Foster walked in, looking completely normal despite the red lights and alarms. Figured I would find you here, she said, making her own sandwich. Steve and Pete are in the recreation room playing cards. They said the emergency lighting makes it hard to see the game. What is this Shadowclaw thing everyone is scared of? Jake asked. Amy sat down across from him. From what I could understand, it is some kind of super assassin. Apparently, it can phase through solid matter and has claws with paralysis poison. The other students think it is basically unstoppable. Huh, Jake said, taking another bite. Sounds like something from a scary movie, right? I tried to calm down my roommate by telling her about horror movies, but that just made her worse. She is convinced humans enjoy being terrified for fun. Pete Collins and Steve Warner found them 20 minutes later. The cafeteria was still empty except for the 4 humans who were now playing a card game Pete had taught them. Security is going crazy, Steve reported. They have teams with energy weapons searching every deck. The head of security, some guy with 9 claws, is coordinating from the main bridge. 9 claws? Jake asked. That seems like a lot. His species grows more claws as they get older, Pete explained. Zenthar 9 claws is supposed to be ancient and wise. Also really tough in a fight. If he is so tough, why is everyone still scared? Amy asked. Steve shrugged. According to the rumors, this Shadowclaw thing has killed people much tougher than Zenthar. It once eliminated an entire military base without anyone even seeing it. The lights flickered, and for a moment the alarms stopped. Then they started again, louder than before. Breach in Section 12, the computer announced. All personnel avoid Section 12. Lethal threat confirmed. That is 3 decks up from here, Pete said, looking at the ceiling. Jake finished his sandwich and stood up. I should probably get my textbook from my room. We have that big test tomorrow in Peaceful Coexistence class. Your room is in Section 12, Amy pointed out. I know. His 3 friends stared at him. Steve was the first to speak. Jake, did you not hear the announcement? There is a lethal threat in Section 12. I heard it, Jake said. But I really need that textbook. The test is worth 30% of our grade. The assassin might kill you, Pete said slowly, like he was talking to a child. Jake considered this. It might also not kill me, but I will definitely fail the test if I do not study. Amy shook her head. That is the most human logic I have ever heard. Thank you, Jake said, not understanding why that was supposed to be a bad thing. He left the mess hall and headed for the elevators. The corridors were completely empty now, with emergency doors sealing off sections of the ship. The only sounds were the alarms and the humming of the life support systems. At the elevator, Jake pressed the button and waited. The doors opened immediately as if the elevator had been waiting for him. Inside the elevator, he pressed the button for Deck 12. The elevator started moving up with its usual smooth motion. Are you sure about this destination? The computer asked. There is a confirmed threat on Deck 12. I am sure, Jake said. I just need to grab a book. Very well. Please be advised that emergency services cannot guarantee response time to Deck 12 at this time. That is okay, Jake said. I will be quick. The elevator reached Deck 12 and the doors opened. The hallway beyond was dark except for the emergency lighting. The normal white lights had been turned off, leaving only the red glow of the warning system. Jake stepped out of the elevator and started walking toward his room. His footsteps echoed in the empty corridor, mixing with the distant sound of the alarms. He was halfway to his room when he heard something else. A soft scratching sound like claws on metal. It seemed to come from inside the walls. Jake paused and listened carefully. The scratching moved along the wall following the corridor. Whatever was making the sound was definitely inside the ventilation system. Interesting, Jake said to himself and continued walking toward his room. The scratching sound followed him. Commander Lisa Brooks stood in the main security center, watching displays that showed the academy from every angle. Zenthar 9 Claws paced behind her, his multiple arms working different control panels while his ancient eyes tracked movement on dozens of screens. Sector 7 clear, reported a security team through the communication system. Moving to Sector 8. Negative contacts in the lower decks, came another voice. Whatever this thing is, it is staying in the upper levels. Lisa studied the tactical display. Red dots showed where security teams were searching. Green dots marked safe zones where students and staff waited. Yellow dots indicated areas where the threat might be hiding. This creature is smart, Zenthar 9 Claws said, his gravelly voice filled with respect and worry. It moves through our ship like it knows every corridor and ventilation shaft. How is that possible? Lisa asked. The Academy's layout is classified information. The Shadowclaw has been studying us for weeks, maybe months, Xanthar replied. It learns the patterns of its targets before it strikes. That is why it has never failed. On the screens, Lisa could see her human students scattered around the Academy. Steve Warner and Pete Collins were in Recreation Room 4, apparently playing some kind of card game. Amy Foster was in the medical bay, helping treat alien students who had fainted from stress. Where is Cadet Morrison? Lisa asked, scanning the displays. Xanthar checked his tracking system. All students wore location badges for safety. His signal shows Deck 12, Section C. Lisa felt her stomach drop. That is where we detected the breach. What? Xanthar spun around, his 9 claws clicking against the control panels. Why would he go there? Lisa was already moving toward the door. Because he is human, and humans do not always make sense. She grabbed a communication device and tried to contact Jake directly. Morrison, this is Commander Brooks. Respond immediately. Static came back through the speaker. The creature must be jamming communications in that area, Xanthar said. It does not want its prey calling for help. Lisa felt anger building in her chest. Jake was under her command, her responsibility. She had brought him to this academy to learn and grow, not to become food for some legendary monster. I am going up there, she announced. Absolutely not, Xanthar replied firmly. I cannot lose the human military liaison. Your people would declare war on us. My people will declare war if I let Jake die without trying to help him. Xanthar considered this. His species valued honor and courage above personal safety. Finally, he nodded. Take a full security team, heavy weapons, quantum scanners. Everything we have. Lisa shook her head. Too slow. Too noisy. This Shadowclaw thing is supposed to be smart, right? It will hear a full team coming and disappear. Then what do you suggest? I go alone. Fast and quiet. Xanthar made a grinding sound that Lisa had learned meant strong disagreement. The Shadowclaw has killed trained assassins, royal guards, and military commanders. You are brave, but you are not immortal. Maybe not, Lisa said, checking her sidearm. But I am human, and apparently, that means something around here. She left the security center before Xanthar could stop her. The corridors were empty except for automated systems and the occasional security patrol. Lisa moved quickly but carefully, using routes she had memorized during her first week at the academy. The elevator to Deck 12 was marked with warning signs and emergency tape. Lisa ignored them and called the elevator. While she waited, she thought about Jake Morrison. He was a good kid. Not the smartest or the strongest in his class, but steady and reliable. He never complained about the strange looks or the whispered conversations. He just did his job and tried to learn everything he could. Lisa had recommended him for the exchange program because he represented the best of human nature. Calm under pressure, adaptable, and able to find humor in difficult situations. Now those same qualities might get him killed. The elevator arrived and Lisa stepped inside. Deck 12, she said. Are you certain? The computer asked. There is a confirmed threat on Deck 12. I am certain. The elevator rose smoothly. Lisa checked her weapon again and reviewed what she knew about the Shadowclaw. It was fast, strong, and could phase through solid matter. Its claws carried a paralysis toxin that worked on most known species. It preferred to kill quietly, using fear and stealth to confuse its victims. The elevator doors opened to reveal a dark corridor lit only by emergency lights. Lisa stepped out carefully, her weapon ready. The silence was complete except for the distant alarms. No footsteps, no voices, no normal sounds of life. Even the air recycling system seemed muted. Lisa activated her communicator and tried to reach the security center. Only static answered her. She started moving toward the student quarters where Jake's room was located. Her training told her to move slowly and check every corner, but her worry for Jake made her want to run. Halfway down the corridor, she found the first body. Security Officer Krath lay sprawled across the hallway floor. His energy weapon was still in his hand, unused. His 6 eyes stared at nothing and his breathing was shallow but steady. Lisa knelt beside him and checked for wounds. No visible injuries, but his pupils were dilated and his muscles were completely slack. Paralyzed. She stood up and continued down the corridor. 2 more security officers lay in similar conditions near an intersection. All paralyzed but alive, their weapons unfired. The Shadowclaw was playing with them. It could have killed these officers easily, but instead it had just removed them from the fight. Lisa wondered if that was mercy or cruelty. At the next corner, she heard voices. Human voices. Lisa moved carefully toward the sound. Around the corner, she could see Jake Morrison standing in the middle of the corridor. He was talking to something, but Lisa could not see what. "So you are like a space ninja," Jake was saying. "That is actually pretty cool. Do you have to train for a long time to learn the wall-walking thing?" Lisa crept closer, staying in the shadows. Now she could see Jake's conversation partner. The Shadowclaw was exactly as terrifying as the legends described. 8 feet tall with black skin that seemed to absorb light. Its claws were longer than Lisa's fingers and dripped with venom that hissed when it hit the floor. Its eyes glowed like red stars and the air around it seemed colder. But something was wrong with this picture. The Shadowclaw was not attacking. It was standing there, apparently confused, while Jake talked to it like they had met at a coffee shop. "I mean, the poison claws are definitely intimidating," Jake continued. "But have you considered maybe adding some kind of projectile weapon? Like throwing stars or something? You could maintain distance while still looking scary." The Shadowclaw made a sound like grinding metal. Lisa realized it was trying to speak. "You do not fear me?" the creature asked. Its voice sounded like rocks falling down a cliff. "Should I?" Jake asked, genuinely curious. "I mean, you look dangerous, but so did my neighbor's dog back home. Once you get to know something, it is usually not as scary as it first seems." Lisa watched in amazement as the galaxy's most feared assassin appeared to have some kind of nervous breakdown. Jake had been walking toward his room when the thing materialized out of the wall right in front of him. One moment he was alone in the corridor. The next moment something that looked like a cross between a giant spider and a nightmare was blocking his path. The creature was definitely impressive. Black skin that seemed to eat light, claws that dripped glowing poison and eyes like burning coals. It stood perfectly still for a moment, probably expecting Jake to scream or run or both. Instead, Jake started laughing. It was not nervous laughter or the kind of giggle people make when they are scared. It was the deep, genuine laughter that comes from seeing something unexpectedly funny. Jake bent over slightly, holding his stomach as the laughter built. "Oh man," he said between laughs. "You look exactly like my neighbor's cat when it gets mad about bath time, just bigger and with more claws." The Shadowclaw tilted its head. This was clearly not the reaction it was used to. "You know," Jake continued, wiping tears from his eyes, "Mr. Whiskers makes almost the same face when he sees the water running, all angry and dramatic. My sister Kate would never believe this without a picture." Jake pulled out his communicator and held it up. "Do you mind if I take a photo? The lighting is not great, but I think I can get a good shot." The Shadowclaw made a sound like metal scraping against stone. You wish to capture my image?" "If that is okay," Jake said politely. "I mean, I do not want to be rude, but my friends back home are never going to believe I met a real space ninja without proof." "Space ninja?" the creature repeated. "That is what you are, right? You can walk through walls, you have those cool claws, you sneak around in the dark. Classic ninja stuff, just in space." The Shadowclaw straightened up to its full height of 8 feet. "I am the Shadowclaw, bringer of death, ender of bloodlines, the nightmare that stalks the dark between stars." Jake nodded appreciatively. "That is a really good title. Very dramatic. Did you come up with that yourself, or do you have like a marketing team?" A marketing team?" "You know, people who help with your image and branding. Because that whole nightmare that stalks the dark thing is really catchy. Very memorable." The Shadowclaw was quiet for a long moment. Its glowing eyes dimmed slightly. "You are not afraid," it said finally. "Should I be?" Jake asked. "I mean, you look dangerous, but so do a lot of things. My Uncle Rick works with tigers, and they could definitely kill him. But mostly they just want food and a place to sleep." "I have killed kings." "Kings can be pretty soft," Jake agreed. "No offense to any kings you might know personally, but most of them grow up in palaces and never have to deal with real problems. Now, if you had killed a farmer from Iowa, that would be impressive. Those guys are tough." The Shadowclaw's claws extended further, dripping more poison onto the floor. "I have destroyed entire families." "That sounds like a lot of work," Jake said sympathetically. "Very time-consuming. Do you get health benefits for this job? Because all that poison probably is not great for your long-term health. My claws carry a neurotoxin that paralyzes any living being." Jake leaned closer to look at the claws. "Neat. Is it like a snake venom or more chemical-based? My cousin Danny got bit by a rattlesnake once. Made his whole arm swell up, but he was fine after they gave him the antidote." It works on every species in the galaxy. Every species? Jake asked. That is amazing. What about humans? I do not think anyone has tested it on humans before. The Shadowclaw paused. No. Humans are new to the galactic community. But it will work. It must work. Maybe, Jake said. But humans are pretty weird biologically. We drink poison for fun. Poison? Alcohol. It is technically poison, but we like how it makes us feel. My grandfather used to drink something called moonshine that could probably clean engine parts. The Shadowclaw was starting to look confused. You consume toxins willingly. Sure. Coffee is technically a drug, chocolate has caffeine, hot peppers cause actual pain, but we eat them anyway. We are kind of weird that way. The creature tried a different approach. It began to phase in and out of solid matter, moving through the wall and back again. Okay, that is definitely cool, Jake said, genuinely impressed. How does that work? Is it like a frequency thing where you vibrate between dimensions or more of a molecular structure change? You wish to understand my abilities? Of course! I mean, that is incredible technology. Or is it biological? Either way, it is fascinating. We have science fiction movies about stuff like this, but seeing it in person is amazing. The Shadowclaw solidified completely and stared at Jake. You find my powers interesting? Absolutely. I bet you could walk through bank vaults and stuff. Not that I am suggesting anything illegal, Jake added quickly, but the practical applications are endless. You could be the ultimate search and rescue worker. Search and rescue? You know, when people get trapped in collapsed buildings or cave-ins. You could phase through the debris and help them escape. Save a lot of lives. The Shadowclaw sat down heavily on the floor. For a legendary assassin, it suddenly looked very tired. In all my centuries of existence, it said slowly, no one has ever suggested I save lives. Well, you probably never met the right people, Jake said. Most folks are pretty reasonable once you get to know them. Want to see some pictures of my family? I have got photos on my communicator. Before the Shadowclaw could answer, Jake sat down on the floor across from it and started scrolling through his device. This is my sister Kate. She is studying to be a veterinarian. And this is my cousin Danny, the one with the snake bite. He runs a auto repair shop now. Oh, and this is Mr. Whiskers, the cat I was telling you about. Jake held up the communicator to show a picture of an orange tabby cat with an extremely grumpy expression. The Shadowclaw leaned forward to look at the image. This creature, it does resemble my stance when preparing to strike, right? I knew you would see it. Kate always says Mr. Whiskers has the soul of a warrior trapped in a house cat's body. The Shadowclaw made a sound that might have been laughter, or indigestion. It was hard to tell. Your family seems pleasant, the creature said. They are pretty great, Jake agreed. You should meet them sometime. Kate would love to hear about your poison claws. She is really interested in animal biology and toxins. The Shadowclaw looked around the empty corridor, then back at Jake. No one has ever invited me to meet their family, it said quietly. Commander Lisa Brooks watched from around the corner as Jake Morrison continued his conversation with the galaxy's most feared assassin. What she was seeing defied every military manual and tactical guide she had ever studied. The Shadowclaw, a creature that had brought down governments and eliminated bloodlines, was sitting on the floor looking depressed while Jake showed it pictures on his communicator. And this is from last summer when we went camping, Jake was saying. That is my Uncle Rick teaching my nephew how to fish. See that thing in the background that looks like a bear? That actually is a bear. A bear? The Shadowclaw asked. Big furry predator. About your size but with more teeth and a worse attitude. They wander into our campsite sometimes looking for food. What do you do when these bears attack? Usually we just make noise and they go away. If that does not work, you play dead or fight back depending on the type of bear. Black bears are basically big dogs, but brown bears will mess you up if you are not careful. The Shadowclaw leaned closer to the communicator screen. And your family encounters these creatures regularly? During camping season, sure. My cousin Danny actually punched one in the nose once when it tried to get into his cooler. The bear was more surprised than hurt. Your cousin physically struck a predatory beast to defend. Food storage? Well, it was good beer, Jake said reasonably. And Danny had been looking forward to it all week. The Shadowclaw made that grinding sound again. Lisa realized it was definitely laughter this time. Your species is remarkable, the creature said. I have studied the combat capabilities of hundreds of races. None of them would casually battle apex predators for recreational beverages. We probably should not, Jake admitted. But sometimes you just do stuff without thinking about it. My grandmother always said humans are too stubborn to know when they should be scared. Your grandmother sounds wise. She was pretty smart, made the best apple pie in 3 counties and could outcuss a sailor when she was mad. You would have liked her. Lisa decided this had gone on long enough. She stepped around the corner with her weapon lowered but ready. "Morrison," she called out. "Are you all right?" Jake looked up with his usual calm expression. "Oh, hi, Commander Brooks. I was just talking with—" He paused and looked at the Shadowclaw. "I never asked your name. Do you have a regular name or just the whole Shadowclaw title?" The creature turned to look at Lisa, and she felt her breath catch. Even sitting down, it radiated danger like heat from a fire, but its eyes were not the burning coals of rage she expected. They looked confused and maybe a little sad. "I am called the Shadowclaw," it said slowly. "I have not used any other name in many centuries." "That is kind of sad," Jake said. "Everyone should have a regular name." "What about Shadow? It is simple and still sounds cool." "Shadow," the creature repeated as if testing how the word felt. Lisa kept her weapon ready but did not aim it. Something very strange was happening here, and her instincts told her that shooting would only make things worse. "Commander," Jake said, "Shadow here was telling me about how the assassination business works. It is actually pretty interesting from a professional development standpoint." "Assassination business?" Lisa repeated. "Well, Shadow is obviously skilled at infiltration and combat," Jake explained. "But the job market for assassins is probably pretty limited. I was thinking there might be other career options." The Shadowclaw Shadow nodded enthusiastically. "The humans suggest I could do search and rescue work, using my phasing abilities to help trapped individuals." Lisa stared at both of them. "You are giving career advice to a legendary killer?" "Former killer," Jake corrected. "Shadow is thinking about a career change." "Right?" Shadow looked uncertain. Yes, perhaps. The work has become less satisfying over the centuries." "Me?" Jake said. "Everyone needs a change of pace sometimes. My neighbor switched from accounting to running a food truck and loves it." Lisa's communicator crackled to life. "Commander Brooks, this is Zenthar Nineclaws. What is your status?" Lisa looked at Jake and Shadow, who were both watching her expectantly. "The situation is under control," she said finally. "Have you eliminated the threat?" Lisa considered her answer carefully. "I am negotiating with the individual in question." "Negotiating?" "Commander, the Shadowclaw does not negotiate. It kills." "Well," Lisa said. "Apparently it also does career counseling now." Static came through the communicator for several seconds. "Did you say career counseling?" Zenthar's voice was strained. "Affirmative. Morrison has convinced the Shadowclaw to consider alternative employment options." More static. Then, "I'm sending medical teams to your location. You may have suffered head trauma." "Negative on the medical teams," Lisa said quickly. "But you might want to send someone from Human Resources. We might have a new hire." Jake stood up and offered his hand to Shadow. "Come on, let me introduce you to my friends. Steve is a pilot, Pete is an engineer, and Amy knows a lot about medicine. They can probably give you more career ideas." Shadow stood up slowly, towering over both humans. Its claws retracted slightly, and the glow in its eyes dimmed to a softer red. "You truly wish me to meet your companions?" "Sure," Jake said. "They are probably still playing cards in the recreation room. Fair warning, though, Pete cheats, but we let him because he brings good snacks." As they walked down the corridor together, Lisa fell into step beside them. She kept her weapon ready, but something told her she would not need it. "Shadow," Jake was saying, "wait until you see the cafeteria food. The kitchen makes this amazing chili that is actually hot enough to be dangerous. Most of the alien students cannot even smell it without getting sick." "You consider dangerous food to be appealing?" "Oh yeah. There is this place back home that makes burgers so spicy they make you sign a waiver before you can order them. It is like a challenge." Shadow made its grinding laugh sound. "Humans truly are the strangest species in the galaxy." "Thank you," Jake said, taking it as a compliment. By the time they reached the recreation room, word had somehow spread through the Academy's communication system. Students and staff lined the corridors, staring in amazement as Jake Morrison walked calmly alongside the Shadowclaw, discussing hot sauce varieties and family recipes. Steve Warner looked up from his card game as they entered the room. "Hey Jake, who's your friend?" "This is Shadow," Jake said. "Shadow, meet Steve, Pete, and Amy." Shadow waved one clawed hand awkwardly. "Greetings. I'm a former assassin seeking new employment opportunities. Pete dropped his cards. Amy blinked several times. Steve just nodded. Cool, Steve said. Want to play poker? We are playing for snacks, so the stakes are pretty low. Shadow sat down carefully at the table. I have never played poker. It is easy, Amy said, already dealing cards. The basic idea is to convince everyone else that you have better cards than you actually do. Deception and misdirection, Shadow said thoughtfully. I am familiar with these concepts. Perfect, Pete said. Just remember Jake always bluffs when he touches his nose and Steve whistles when he has a good hand. Hey, Steve protested. Do not give away our tells. Shadow picked up its cards with surprising delicacy, careful not to damage them with its claws. This is very enjoyable, it said after a few hands, much more pleasant than my previous occupation. Most jobs are better than assassination, Amy pointed out. Yes, Shadow agreed. I am beginning to understand that. Jake won the next hand with a pair of threes and a confident smile. As he collected his winnings, a package of cookies and some kind of alien fruit, he looked around at his friends. You know, he said, this might be the best day I have had since coming to the academy. Shadow made its grinding laugh sound, and even Lisa found herself smiling. Outside in the corridors, alien students and staff continued to gather, trying to understand how a human had turned the galaxy's most feared assassin into a poker player with career anxiety. The answer, as with most things involving humans, was surprisingly simple. Sometimes the best way to handle a monster is to treat it like a person and see what happens.